Please give your full attention to what I am about to share because this is not simply information. It can be important for protecting yourself. There are people in this world who do more than dislike you. They may actively want to see you fail. They may not even want you to succeed, grow, or move forward in your life. If you are not alert and you fail to recognize the warning signs, you can walk directly into the traps they have created while believing everything is perfectly normal. You may even do it with a smile on your face while they quietly prepare to hurt you from behind. This is not about becoming paranoid or suspicious of everyone around you. It is about understanding human behavior and recognizing unhealthy patterns. People with strong narcissistic traits can sometimes operate with a level of hostility, manipulation, and planning that a genuinely kind person may find difficult to imagine. The painful part is that your own goodness can sometimes make you easier to manipulate. Your kindness, loyalty, empathy, forgiveness, and willingness to see the best in others can all be turned against you. Today, we are going to look at 6 hidden warning signs. These are 6 patterns that can appear in small actions, quiet reactions, and subtle changes in behavior. They can reveal that a person is not simply frustrated with you or disappointed in you, but may be deeply invested in seeing you weakened, isolated, or brought down. Learning to recognize these patterns can help you protect your emotional well-being, your relationships, your reputation, and, in some situations, even your physical safety. The danger is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it hides behind a smile, a helpful suggestion, a moment of silence, or words that sound caring on the surface. One of the most disturbing parts of narcissistic manipulation is the way a person can turn your greatest qualities into weaknesses. The very traits that make you admirable can become the tools they use against you. Think about the qualities that make you who you are. Your kindness, your loyalty, your empathy, your ability to forgive, your willingness to give people another chance, your desire to believe that people are basically good, your habit of trying to understand people before judging them. These qualities are valuable. They are not flaws. But an unhealthy person can learn how you operate and use those qualities for personal advantage. If you are kind, they may begin expecting you to keep giving even when you are exhausted. They may treat your kindness as an obligation instead of a gift. You may find yourself agreeing to things you actually want to refuse because you do not want to hurt them or disappoint them. Your kindness becomes something that traps you instead of something that brings you peace. If you are loyal, they may repeatedly test the limits of that loyalty. They may break your trust, apologize, repeat the same behavior, and then wait to see how much you will tolerate. Because loyalty matters deeply to you, leaving may feel like a betrayal of your own values. You may start making excuses for them. You may tell yourself that they will change. Maybe they did not mean it. Maybe they were under pressure. Maybe you misunderstood what happened. Maybe you are partly responsible. They notice this pattern, and they can depend on it. If you are naturally forgiving, an unhealthy person may see your forgiveness as permission to repeat the same behavior. They hurt you, act sorry, promise to do better, and then eventually hurt you again. Your ability to forgive becomes a revolving door through which the same harmful behavior continues to enter your life. Sometimes they may even turn your own values against you. They may make you feel that if you were truly forgiving, you would simply let everything go. If you were truly loving, you would give them another chance. If you were truly compassionate, you would understand their behavior. This can create a painful conflict inside you because you genuinely believe in second chances. Sometimes you believe in third chances, fourth chances, and even more. What you may not notice at first is that your forgiveness has stopped being a free choice. It has slowly been turned into permission. Your empathy can also become a target. Empathy allows you to understand another person's pain. It helps you see situations from different perspectives. It makes you want to help people when they are struggling. But a manipulative person can learn how to activate your empathy whenever it benefits them. They may suddenly become the victim. They may cry when they need something. They may become emotionally overwhelmed when they fear losing control. They may tell dramatic stories about how everyone has treated them badly. They may become angry, then broken, then helpless, depending on which reaction gives them the result they want. And because you care, you feel pressure to help, you support them, you comfort them, you protect them, you explain their behavior to other people. You give them another opportunity. But when the situation changes and you are the one who needs support, they may disappear. When you are hurting, they may suddenly become unavailable. When you need understanding, they may become cold. When you need empathy, they may act as though your pain is an inconvenience. That imbalance is important. A healthy relationship is not perfectly equal every second, but there should be a basic willingness to care about each other. When one person constantly receives understanding while refusing to offer it, the relationship becomes a system of control. Even your desire to see the best in people can be used against you. You may see obvious warning signs but refuse to believe that the person could truly be capable of harmful behavior. You explain cruelty as stress. You explain deception as a misunderstanding. You explain controlling behavior as concern. You explain disrespect as frustration. You keep changing your interpretation of reality because you want to preserve the image of the person you believed they were. This is where manipulation becomes especially powerful. The more you change your own understanding of events to protect your hope, the easier it becomes for another person to control your perception. You may sacrifice your peace just to keep believing that the relationship can return to what it once was. You may rewrite the story in your own mind so that you can continue believing in the person. And every time you do that, the unhealthy person gains more room to continue. The central psychological pattern is simple. Instead of attacking the parts of you that are already weak, they may target the qualities that make you strong. They slowly turn your strengths against you. They make you question whether kindness is foolishness. They make you wonder whether loyalty means tolerating too much. They make you think forgiveness is a weakness. They make empathy feel like self-betrayal. Eventually, you may stop trusting your own good qualities. You may begin thinking that your kindness is the reason people take advantage of you. You may believe your loyalty is the reason you stay in unhealthy relationships. You may decide that caring about people only leads to pain. When you lose trust in your own values, you lose an important part of your identity. That is one way control works. The person does not always need to overpower you. Sometimes they simply need to make you doubt yourself enough that you disarm yourself. The painful truth is that many people do not recognize this process while it is happening. They may look back years later and wonder how they tolerated so much. The answer is often uncomfortable. They tolerated it because they cared. They stayed because they hoped. They forgave because forgiveness mattered to them. They believed because they wanted to believe in the best of another person. Their goodness was not the problem. The problem was that someone learned how to use that goodness for personal advantage. Another revealing pattern is when a person seems to experience more satisfaction from your failures than from their own successes. This can give you a powerful look into what is happening beneath the surface. Most people experience envy from time to time. That is part of being human. You might see someone achieve something you wanted and briefly feel jealous. You might wish you had what they have, but a healthy person can recognize that feeling, process it, and continue with their own life. A person with strong narcissistic traits may respond very differently. Your success can feel like a personal threat to them. When you succeed, they may not simply think that you have done well. Your achievement may challenge the story they have created about themselves. If they need to feel superior, then your success becomes uncomfortable evidence that they are not always the most successful, talented, admired, or important person in the room. Every time you achieve something, it can feel as though their image of superiority is being challenged. So instead of putting their energy into improving their own life, they may become focused on your downfall. Pay attention to what happens when something goes wrong for you. When you make a mistake, does their face change? Do their eyes suddenly become more alert? Does their voice become lighter or more energized? Do they seem strangely interested in every detail of your failure? A supportive person may ask what happened because they genuinely care about you. A manipulative person may ask because your pain gives them something emotionally satisfying. They may pretend to comfort you while secretly enjoying what has happened. They may offer sympathy that feels strangely empty. They may say the right words while their body language tells a completely different story. Your difficult moment may make them feel better about themselves. This is also why some people become subtle saboteurs. They do not simply wait for you to fail. They may create circumstances that make failure more likely. Before an important decision, they may plant doubt in your mind. Before an important meeting, they may make a negative comment about your ability. Before an important opportunity, they may remind you of an old mistake. They may confuse you, distract you, create unnecessary drama, or introduce uncertainty into your plans. Then when something goes wrong, they get two forms of satisfaction. They get to watch you fall, and they know they helped create the conditions that caused it. For someone driven by superiority, winning may feel better when another person loses because of it. Look at the smaller moments too. When you share good news, do they minimize it? Do they quickly change the subject? Do they offer a compliment followed by a criticism that makes the compliment feel meaningless? You might say that you received a promotion, and instead of celebrating with you, they immediately mention how difficult the new position will be. You might share a personal achievement, and they remind you of someone who has achieved even more. You might tell them that something important finally worked out, and they barely react. But when you share bad news, suddenly they become interested. They ask questions, they want details, they keep the conversation going. They seem unusually engaged with your suffering. This contrast can tell you a great deal. The most revealing pattern is often comparison. A person who constantly compares themselves to everyone around them may be keeping a silent score. They need to know who is ahead and who is behind. But instead of improving themselves, they may try to reduce the people around them. If they cannot rise above you, they may try to pull you down. If they cannot outshine you, they may feel relieved when your light becomes weaker. This can explain why some people spread gossip or rumors about people they claim to care about. It can explain why they seem strangely entertained by another person's bad fortune. It is not always random cruelty. Sometimes it is part of a larger pattern of maintaining superiority. The difficult part is that they cannot openly reveal how much they enjoy your struggles. If they did, people would see what was happening. So the reaction becomes hidden. It may be a small smirk, a strange pause, a casual comment that seems harmless but somehow hurts, a silence at the exact moment when encouragement would normally appear. Over time, you begin noticing these tiny reactions. You start wondering whether the person beside you is secretly hoping you fail. That uncertainty can damage a relationship from the inside. You become suspicious. You become unsure of yourself. You stop knowing who truly supports you, and that can leave you isolated, which makes manipulation easier. A secure person does not need another person to fail in order to feel valuable. Someone who is comfortable with their own abilities can celebrate another person's success without feeling personally attacked. But when someone needs constant proof of superiority, your success can become uncomfortable, and your failure can become emotionally rewarding to them. That hunger may never be satisfied. One setback is not enough. They may want another mistake, another disappointment, another moment that proves to them that you are not better than they are. Another dangerous pattern is the use of silence as a form of psychological pressure. Most people think of communication as words, conversations, arguments, explanations, and discussions. But silence can also become a powerful tool when it is deliberately used to create fear or uncertainty. There is a difference between healthy space and punishment through silence. A healthy person may need time to calm down. They may say they need an hour or a day before continuing a difficult conversation. Manipulative silence is different. It is not about calming down. It is about making you uncomfortable enough that you chase them. When a person suddenly stops communicating, your mind may begin racing. You start reviewing the last conversation. You wonder what you said. You wonder whether you did something wrong. You wonder why they are not responding. You may start blaming yourself even though you have no clear evidence that you did anything wrong. The silence creates an accusation without explaining what the accusation is. That uncertainty can become extremely stressful. A person who uses the silent treatment may disappear emotionally or physically. They may stop answering messages. They may refuse to speak. They may act as though you do not exist. Hours can become days. Days can become weeks. During that time, the purpose may not be to solve anything. The purpose may be to make you feel the absence of their attention. They know that you want the relationship to return to normal. They know that you want an explanation. They know that uncertainty is uncomfortable, so they make you chase them. You may apologize simply to restore peace, even when you do not believe you were wrong. You may accept blame simply because you cannot tolerate the tension. You may give up your position simply because you want the silence to end. That is where the power shift happens. They withdraw, you pursue. They become the person who decides when communication will return. You become the person waiting for permission to feel secure again. Silence can also happen in the middle of a conversation. You may be speaking honestly about something important. You may be opening up about your feelings or explaining something that hurt you. Then suddenly they become emotionally blank. They do not respond. They do not acknowledge what you said. They simply stare, remain silent, or behave as though your words never existed. That can be deeply painful because human beings naturally want to be recognized. We want our words to matter. We want our emotions to be acknowledged. When someone repeatedly refuses even basic acknowledgement, the message can feel devastating. It can make you feel as though your thoughts do not matter, your feelings do not matter, your voice does not matter, you do not matter. And they can communicate all of that without saying a single word. Timing can make this tactic even more powerful. After an argument, when you most want resolution, they may become silent. Instead of discussing the issue, they leave you alone with the tension. The longer the silence continues, the more uncomfortable you become. Eventually, you may apologize just to make the tension stop. They win the conflict without having to argue. Their silence did the work for them. This behavior can also happen in front of other people. They may ignore you while being warm and friendly toward everyone else. They may speak to others while deliberately excluding you. That can be especially painful because the exclusion happens publicly. It sends a social message without direct words. It can make you feel invisible, embarrassed, or unwanted. They may not insult you. They may not yell at you. They simply remove you from the interaction and allow everyone else to notice. This works because human beings are naturally sensitive to social rejection. When we sense that something is wrong in a close relationship, our instinct is often to repair it. A manipulative person can take advantage of that instinct. You work harder, you give more, you compromise more, you apologize more, you change your behavior, all because you want the silence to end. Every time this works, the person learns that silence gives them control. Eventually, you may begin changing your behavior before anything even happens. You become careful about what you say. You avoid certain subjects. You hide your needs. You stop expressing disagreement. You try to predict what might upset them. You become quieter and more hesitant. This is how emotional conditioning can develop. The person may not need to threaten you directly anymore because you have learned to regulate yourself around their reactions. You are no longer acting from freedom. You are acting from fear of what might happen if you do something they dislike. Another destructive pattern is isolation. Human beings become stronger through connection. We rely on family, friends, coworkers, communities, and trusted people when life becomes difficult. A manipulative person understands that someone with a strong support system is harder to control. If you have people who know you well, they can recognize changes in your behavior. They can question what is happening. They can remind you of who you were before the relationship became unhealthy. They can tell you when something does not seem right. So an unhealthy person may try to weaken those connections. They may begin with small comments. They may say that one of your friends does not really respect you. They may suggest that someone is secretly jealous of you. They may question the intentions of your family. They may tell you that the people closest to you are using you, judging you, or secretly talking about you. At first, you may dismiss the comments, but repetition changes things. If you hear the same suggestion again and again, you may eventually start questioning your own relationships. You begin wondering whether your friend really cares about you. You begin wondering whether your family truly supports you. You may start seeing ordinary disagreements as evidence of betrayal. Then you pull away. That is exactly what the manipulative person wanted. Another tactic is triangulation. This happens when someone deliberately creates tension between people and then places themselves in the middle. They tell you one version of a story, they tell someone else a different version. They position themselves as the only person who knows what is really happening. Suddenly, you are trapped inside a conflict you never created. You do not know who said what. You do not know who is telling the truth. You do not know who you can trust. The confusion makes you less likely to reach out to anyone else. You become afraid that another person might misunderstand you or betray your confidence. The person who created the conflict can then present themselves as your only safe option. This is one of the cruelest parts of isolation. They create the chaos and then offer themselves as the solution. Smear campaigns can deepen the damage. Instead of telling obvious and unbelievable lies, they may begin with small distortions. They may tell half-truths. They may leave out important details. They may describe your behavior in a way that makes you appear unstable, selfish, unreliable, difficult, or overly emotional. Each individual story may seem too small to challenge, but over time, many small distortions can create a completely different image of you in other people's minds. People who once trusted you may begin behaving differently. They may become distant. They may hesitate before believing you. They may look at you with suspicion, and you may not understand why. If you confront the person responsible, they may act confused. They may say they have no idea why people are treating you differently. They may even pretend to be concerned about your relationships. Meanwhile, the damage may have been happening quietly for months. Isolation can also happen through control of your time and attention. They may discourage you from seeing friends. They may complain whenever you spend time with family. They may become cold after you go out. They may create arguments before social events. They may make gatherings uncomfortable so that eventually you stop inviting people into your life. Slowly, your world becomes smaller. Your attention moves toward them. Your time revolves around them. Your emotional energy becomes focused on managing their reactions. They become the center of your life, not because they have built a rich and healthy relationship with you, but because they have weakened your connections with everyone else. Technology can make this even easier. They may question your messages. They may want to know who contacted you. They may examine your social media activity. They may question why someone liked your post. They may ask what you were discussing with another person. At first, it may look like jealousy, but if it continues, it can become surveillance. You begin monitoring yourself. You edit your posts. You avoid certain interactions. You stop responding to people because you are worried about how the interaction will be interpreted. You begin isolating yourself before they even have a chance to object. Without realizing it, you have handed them control. The cruel part is that isolation can become almost invisible. There may be no dramatic event. Instead, there is one comment here, one argument there, one uncomfortable reaction when you mention a friend, one accusation when you spend time with family, one period of coldness after you meet someone without them. Over months and years, these small actions can create a huge distance between you and the people who once gave you strength. Then, when the person tries to exert greater control, you may discover that your support system has already weakened. You may have fewer people to call, fewer people who understand what happened, fewer people who can challenge the story being told about you, fewer people who can remind you of who you really are. Another powerful tactic is disguising cruelty as moral superiority. This can be extremely difficult to recognize because the harmful person does not present their behavior as cruelty. They present it as concern, they call it advice, they call it honesty, they call it justice, they call it discipline. They say they are trying to help you. When cruelty is obvious, you can usually recognize it. If someone openly insults you, you know you have been insulted. If someone openly attacks you, you know you are being attacked. But when harmful behavior is wrapped in the language of morality, it becomes much harder to resist. A person may criticize you and immediately explain that they are only doing it for your own good. They may point out your flaws repeatedly and then claim they are helping you improve. They may make you feel inadequate while presenting themselves as the person who is trying to make you better. The result is confusing. You are hurt, but you also feel pressured to thank them. You feel insulted, but you wonder whether you are simply being too sensitive. You feel degraded, but you worry that defending yourself means you cannot accept constructive criticism. This can create a cycle where you absorb the harm and then feel grateful to the person who caused it. Moral superiority can also appear through constant judgment. The person presents themselves as the standard for what is right, intelligent, ethical, responsible, or mature. By comparison, you are always falling short. If you disagree with them, it is not treated as a normal difference of opinion. Instead, they may portray you as ignorant, selfish, irresponsible, immature, or morally wrong. The conversation is no longer between two equal people. They have positioned themselves as the judge, and you have been placed on trial. Because most people want to believe they are good, fair, honest, and decent, you may become desperate to prove yourself. You start trying to meet standards that were never designed to be achievable. Religious, spiritual, philosophical, or moral language can sometimes be used in the same way. A person may quote principles, teachings, or ideals while using those ideas to shame you. If you object to their behavior, they may tell you that you need to be more patient. If they hurt you, they may tell you that you need to be more forgiving. If you establish a boundary, they may accuse you of being selfish.